Hi everyone and welcome to Pro Audio Talk. My name is Peter Muller and I'm a mixing and mastering engineer based in Germany, Europe. Today's question is, it's the ear, not the gear. Is this really true? Let's find out. Welcome back. The audio community is kinda ambiguous about the question of how important equipment really is to achieve a world-class sound in mixing and mastering. I'll also include software when I talk about gear and equipment, by the way. On one side, new gear is praised for being the magic and ultimate key to the perfect mix, and then we often hear the opposite in sentences like, it's the ear, not the gear. You can find tons of videos and discussions about super expensive hardware and how this can be the game changer, and on the other side you find audio influencers who tell you that all you need is a $200 audio interface and a laptop to deliver a world-class mix. So what is really true? In my opinion, both points of view doesn't really match the reality. If I want to put it in one sentence, it would be, gear can be everything or nothing at all. The meaning is that you can buy the best and most expensive stuff available and it'll take you nowhere if you don't have any imagination of the sound you're looking for. You can technically learn how to operate any kind of hardware and software, but fail in achieving great results if you don't know where you want to go with it. It's basically the same everywhere in music. Think of a guitar player who reached a good level of playing, but his bandmates always complain about how the guitar sounds. Buying a more expensive guitar or amp will not solve the problem alone, because he would play the guitar in the same way and set the amp in a similar way. He is lacking the imagination of a good guitar sound and how to set the equipment right. With this example, the sentence, it's the ear not the gear, seems to be correct. But when it comes to world-class mixing and mastering and the people who are relevant in the business, you often see them sitting in highly equipped studios with tons of expensive hardware and a huge software collection. Why is that if it's the ear and not the gear? The other day I read a discussion on the web where someone stated that a world-class audio engineer, like for example Bruce Swedian, the audio engineer of Quincy Jones, who passed away back in 2020, would have made a world-class mix even on a 4-track tape recorder and cheap speakers because he has the ears. While I think that this could be true and applies to all successful audio engineers, it is not really a good example because the question is, why would he? Why would he choose low quality and cheap equipment even if he has great ears and a great imagination of the sound he wants to achieve? It's important to understand that people who made their way in professional mixing and mastering were all beginners once. They generally started from the scratch. They started when nobody knew them and when they did not have the resources and the budget to work on high-end equipment, like they have now. But don't get me wrong, I don't mean it in the way that now when they have success, they surround themselves with expensive gear because they can, or they just want to show off. No, it's really not primarily about the money. A professional audio engineer pushed every piece of gear that he or she had to its limits before moving on to another one. There is no need to change or upgrade your gear if you haven't used the whole potential of your existing gear. To reach that point where equipment really stops you from getting better is much harder than you think. Some people never reach that point. Let's go back to our hypothesis that Bruce Swedian would have been capable of doing a world-class mix on a 4-track tape recorder and a pair of cheap speakers. And why could someone without the experience that Mr. Swedian had can't do it? Because Mr. Swedian would have pushed that setup to its limits, probably to a quality that you wouldn't have thought is possible. Now with the experience of such a famous engineer, he of course moved on to much better gear a long time ago, and this is the crucial point. Imagine a world-class audio engineer is pushing world-class gear to its limits. That would be quality-wise on a superior level. And this is what I meant by saying, gear can be everything or nothing at all. Maybe it's that expensive hardware compressor that creates a distinctive drum sound on a #1 hit, or that high-end EQ which makes the voice of a famous singer really shine. Without this particular gear, it wouldn't have been possible to create that sound. This is when gear can be all, but it's only like that because someone with an imagination of it turned the knobs and pushed the buttons. In the hands of someone without that experience, knowledge and also special talent, it wouldn't have happened. In that case, gear is nothing at all. So before buying something new and every time a voice inside yourself tells you that with a new piece of gear, hardware or software, you would sound better, stop for a moment and ask yourself a couple of questions. Have I really pushed my equipment to the limits? And can I absolutely identify the exact reason why my gear is holding me back from getting better? I'm pretty sure that most of the time you can't, because with all the marketing going on and gear talk on the web, it's a big temptation to look for that magic box which suddenly makes your mixer sound professional. This box doesn't exist. If you really want to improve your mixing and mastering skills, it's a much better practice to limit your tools and see what you can do with a minimum choice of software and hardware. Every DAW nowadays, for example, has stock plugins included which are potentially sufficient to make a good sounding mix. Don't expect to sound like the famous audio engineers, but once your mixes sound at least decent compared to the references, which very likely have been mixed and mastered on much better high-end equipment, then it's probably a good moment to think about an upgrade. Then move on step by step and see if your mixes are improving further before you move on again. Because like I said, gear can be everything or nothing at all. That's it for now. If this episode was useful for you, please check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel and get notified when I upload a new video. You're also welcome to leave a comment down below. Let me know your opinion or ask any question related to the subject. See you next time.